You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
Welcome back. If you're navigating the product world right now, you could be an engineer, a product leader, or, just trying to figure out where the real edge is. You are in exactly the right place.
Yeah, we've been looking at a set of really powerful arguments this week.
All centered around one idea, really, and it's not even a technical one.
Yeah.
It's product judgment.
That's the core tension, isn't it,
Yeah.
in modern product development? It has never been easier or faster or cheaper to just build things.
Right.
The sheer volume of features, experiments, whole products we can launch has just exploded.
Yeah.
Execution is being automated.
So our focus today is really cutting through all that
Uh-huh.
capability and trying to extract the wisdom to figure out the few things we absolutely should build.
Exactly. The rules are shifting under our feet.
Mhm.
And judgment is kind of the only thing that holds steady.
That's the perfect way to frame it. So we're going to be unpacking this huge shift. Why judgment is the new professional moat, why leaning on metrics can sometimes be the ultimate avoidance strategy, and how AI is just completely rewriting the rules for design and prototyping. It's what we call Product Thursdays here. And I think we should just jump right in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's get into that central idea right away. There's this really strong argument that future success requires a kind of profound discipline.
The discipline to stop doing things.
Exactly, to stop most things
Mhm.
so the few right things can actually win. And that clarity, it seems, comes from saying no to everything that isn't pulling you directly toward your mountain, so to speak.
That mountain concept is so critical. We have to realize that execution and effort,
Mm.
they're not the main constraints anymore.
No, not at all.
When code generation is basically free and development gets automated, the whole competitive edge shifts. It shifts to human judgment. Ideas are cheap. Execution is getting cheaper by the day.
So the winners of this next cycle, they won't be the ones who just build the fastest?
No. They'll be the ones who choose the single most impactful problem to solve. The ones who validate their ideas with incredible speed and, target the right users with real precision.
I wonder, though, if that idea of judgment, doesn't it kind of run counter to this modern ethos of let's just experiment with everything?
Oh, that's a fair challenge.
If execution is cheap, shouldn't we just throw 100 things at the wall and let the data pick the winner?
See, the judgment isn't about preventing experiments. It's about designing the right experiment so you learn the right thing.
Okay.
It's about being right about the market, about the user, before you start writing code, not after. We see this in successful product teams all the time. Some really interesting lessons came out of Google on this.
Right.
These high-performing teams, they don't define good judgment as, technical brilliance.
Mhm.
They see it as optimization.
Optimization for what specifically?
For three things: users, clarity, and trust. Great engineers don't optimize for clever code. They optimize for elegant clarity. Their careers really start to compound when they focus on removing friction and cutting out unnecessary work, not just for customers, but for their own colleagues.
They're system thinkers.
They're total system thinkers. And that's why real leadership progress comes from being willing to update your own mental models about how a system works, not just trying to, control the people in the system. You have to judge the system itself accurately first.
So if judgment is the new moat, the real question for anyone listening becomes, how do you know if your judgment is any good? And naturally, most teams turn to their dashboards, their metrics. But we found this really provocative claim that suggests that might actually be the problem.
Your metrics are an avoidance strategy.
It lands like a punch, doesn't it?
It really does. But it's so often true. Metrics without a shared, profound intent, they're empty. If the entire team, from engineering all the way to marketing, isn't totally aligned on what success truly means,
What that mountain actually looks like.
yes, then the metrics just become a distraction.
They become an excuse for motion, right, for activity.
Exactly. A way to look busy.
Yeah.
A way to justify your budget without ever making a hard choice. Think about that classic scenario. A team spends a whole quarter optimizing time on site,
Sure.
only to find out later they were just rewarding confused users who couldn't find the checkout button.
So they were clicking around for ages, the metric went up, but the business failed.
They hit the metric, but they failed the user. Real progress means designing the work, the product, the whole team around that shared clarity first.
It really is the difference between intention and action. We see this everywhere, not just in tech. You know, New Year's resolutions fail when success is just a vague idea.
Right.
Clear measurement creates clarity. And that's the only thing that turns a vague intention into real, meaningful change. You have to know what you're aiming for before you even put the target up.
And that means you need a really strong filter for your data.
Mm.
You have to be clear on the difference between a pattern and an insight.
Okay, what's the distinction there?
A pattern is just a correlation. People who look at feature X also buy product Y. That's trivia.
Interesting.
An insight, on the other hand, is a mechanism that forces a decision.
It forces you to act.
Yes, if your data is just confirming what you already believe, or if it doesn't make you change your roadmap or throw out a hypothesis, it's just noise. Judgment is what turns that pattern into an action-forcing insight.
Okay, so if bad metrics are a distraction from the mountain, we need better tools to get there faster. Which brings us to AI and how it's totally rewriting the prototyping playbook.
It's a massive shift.
Yeah, the data is pretty stark. Something like 88% of product and design leaders agree that prototyping has to happen much, much earlier.
To avoid those months of delays, the painful rework that always seems to happen at the very end of the cycle.
Exact.
But the tools have to be the right kind of tools. It's not enough to just generate a pretty picture quickly. You need tools that create editable prototypes.
Not just a beautiful rendering of a bad idea.
Precisely. Speed is useless if the output is a dead end. Product leaders need frameworks to define what they need, to evaluate all the new AI tools out there, and use scorecards to make sure they're solving problems in the first 10% of the process, not the last.
Which brings up what people are calling the 90% problem in design. If AI can get a design 90% of the way there, who owns that last critical 10%, and where's the value?
The value is all in that last 10%.
Yeah.
This is the judgment part again. The future of design is shifting away from, spending hours drawing boxes.
Right.
To spending hours explaining why the final solution works, focusing on the intent, the brand, the user's trust. The AI does the heavy lifting, but the human has to orchestrate the final outcome.
Orchestration. That's a really interesting word choice because when you talk about autonomous systems, it's about managing something you can't fully control.
That's it, exactly. The nature of this work is moving towards orchestrating, monitoring, and debugging complex autonomous agents, not just executing simple tasks.
Yeah.
And this is why there's this fascinating idea that AI tooling actually needs game designers.
Game designers. Why?
Because game designers are specialists in creating rule systems, incentive structures, and user interfaces for managing complex, unpredictable behavior. If you've ever run a huge multiplayer game, you know how to design an interface for managing 1,000 autonomous agents at once.
Which is what AI is becoming.
It's what it's quickly becoming. That's a phenomenal connection.
And it all has to serve the user experience.
Yeah.
AI has to make things demonstrably better, not just a bit cheaper or faster. The real win is using AI where it uniquely helps the customer, not just shoehorning it into every workflow.
And for that, we need better interfaces than just a text box. It's like the jump from the command line to the GUI for the first PCs. We need better ways to express our complex intent to the machine.
Okay, let's inject a dose of on-the-ground reality here, because product leaders are under intense pressure. 2/3 of CPOs are measured mainly on customer growth. But there's this quiet, huge problem that's just eating up developer time and making that growth so much harder to achieve.
It's the drag of infrastructure,
Yeah.
the overhead.
Wow.
Specifically, developer time is just being consumed by foundational non-feature work. The numbers we're seeing show that 45% of developer time goes into identity work.
45%.
Yeah.
That's almost half their time. We should probably clarify what identity work even means for people listening.
We should. Identity work is all that foundational security and admin stuff. Building out complex SSO, managing tokens, setting up user roles and permissions, navigating all the compliance rules like GDPR.
That stuff you absolutely have to get right.
Exactly. It's not optional and it's security critical, so it's incredibly complex and slow. And it eats up almost as much time as building the actual features that drive growth. This hidden friction is a massive brake on velocity.
And speaking of friction, AI adoption itself is hitting some turbulence. Why are 75% of AI rollouts stalling out right now? The tech works.
It's almost entirely a collaboration problem. Most of the AI tools we have now, as powerful as they are built for one person, for solo work.
To help me write an email or research a topic.
Right. But real business value, real scale, that requires teams to work together. If the AI doesn't slot into shared workflows, if it doesn't help teams collaborate and manage a shared context, the rollout just stalls. It doesn't fit how companies actually work.
That is a huge insight. The future isn't the solo helper AI, it's the team orchestrator.
That's it. If the AI doesn't make teamwork better, it's just another piece of software that creates friction every time you try to pass the baton.
So, to round out this whole discussion on product judgment, let's touch on one last kind of counterintuitive idea. It's about market access and using wait lists and even charging for things that used to be free.
Like advice.
Exactly. The best wait lists today aren't just for signaling hype. They are being used to qualify intent, to prove who will actually pay or engage seriously.
It brings us right back to our core theme of judgment, doesn't it? Optimizing for clarity of intent. By adding a little bit of friction, a detailed sign-up, a small fee, you force the user to exercise their own judgment about whether they really need what you're offering.
But doesn't that risk creating too much friction, especially for a new product? You could lose that random user who might have become your biggest fan.
That is the tension, yes. But some of the thinking suggests that charging for something like advice can actually increase demand.
How?
By removing social friction, a clear price, and an asynchronous process, it signals that you're open for business. It makes it psychologically easier for people to ask for high-quality help because the transaction is clear. It filters out the noise and focuses everyone on the serious questions.
That brings us full circle perfectly. Okay, so for everyone listening, let's try to recap the big shifts here. First, you have to shift your focus from execution, which is being automated, to judgment. Second, you need to demand real clarity and intent, not just chase empty, gameable metrics. And finally, you have to pivot your tooling toward smarter collaborative AI systems, the team orchestrators.
And maybe here's the final thought to carry forward. Every interaction is training.
What do you mean by that?
Whether you realize it or not, every email you write, every feature you ship, every customer service ticket, every piece of data you decide to track, it's all training the systems, the people, and the algorithms around you. The real question is, what are you teaching them about what success actually looks like?
A profound challenge to end on. If you can apply that kind of intentional judgment to your next project, you'll be well on your way. Thanks for joining us for this exploration. We'll talk to you next time.
Spoken Tech, for your ears.